Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, you might be asking yourself why you're staring at a black screen. It is because I wanted to build the suspense to perhaps one of the greatest memes and intro videos of all time for today's subject matter. Behold AOC and Elon Musk in a never-existing romantic love affair of a video that is so great I choose to believe it was real.
I apologize.
That was perfect.
I'm breaking all the rules.
Well, I guess we might make some mistakes. Who knows?
I think one of the biggest problems we have in DC is that everyone's egos are too big.
I actually just prefer to have no titles at all.
You're opening yourself up.
I'm just being me. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that was done by Maze. Escape. Let's just get out of here. It was done by Maze back in the day. And you've all got the link. Actually got the link to who had reposted it. AKA Face US. I'll give everybody the link to the actual original tweet. Share it around. It's beautiful. And it will remind us of what we are dealing with today. AOC and the squad and 53 other Democrats voting no on a resolution to designate Iran a terrorist organization or the leading producers of state-sponsored terrorism. We're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff, but I want to lead off with this because above and beyond being outraged, above and beyond being shocked, and by the way, this has nothing to do with how you feel about the broader conflict. You just want to understand what the hell's going on. And you can be against this precision strike, non-war military intervention that is quite clearly a war that's not going to be a forever war, but right now it's slated for a few months because that's how every forever war has ever started. You can have your concerns about that, but still try to understand how it is that 53 Democrats vote against declaring Iran a state sponsor of terror. Because my understanding is it's already a done thing to begin with. Leading the charge, and hence the thumbnail for today's show, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashid Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley. I call them the cheerleader of Iran. Why the singular cheerleader? Because it's the squad. The squad is singular, and now the squad is the cheerleader for Iran, among 53 Democrats opposing non-binding House measure. We'll read the news. We're going to read the actual text and try to understand. You don't have to agree with your ideological adversaries. You probably never will. That's why they're ideological adversaries. They're not always wrong, but they are usually wrong because they're idiots. I'm talking about the Democrats with a capital D Democrats and AOC at large. Dozens of Democrats have voted against a non-binding resolution in the House that reaffirms Iran as the, quote, largest state sponsor of terrorism, end quote. Reaffirms means it's already been affirmed. Now, I appreciate it. I'm going to steelman it. Why would you need to do something that you've already done? Why wouldn't you do again something that you have already done? The resolution put forward by Rep. Brian Mast, Florida, passed by a 372-53 vote on Thursday, with all those voting no being Democrats. 2 Democrats also voted present. That is when you say, I'm here, but I'm not taking a position on this particular resolution. Among those who voted against the measure, all members of the squad, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib. Are we noticing a trend here? The resolution said the Islamic Republic of Iran remains the world's largest sponsor of terrorism and provides substantial financial and military support to groups including Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. It added that Iran, quote, let's get the actual text for a second so we don't have to do this. And then you're going to say, well, Viva, you have aired some skepticism about the wisdom of these attacks. You have aired some cynicism about the opportunity, the seeming, what some believe to be a betrayal of campaign promises. And you may say it's not a betrayal of the promise because I can find you a video from 13 years ago where he says we should just nuke Iran. I can find you a clip where on the stage he said we should just bomb the shit out of Iran. which is sort of like very disingenuous, because what you're basically rewarding in a politician is saying both A and not A at any point in time, so that you can always say I was right no matter what I say. Anybody who's going to pretend it was not a peace ticket, as tweeted out by the GOP in 2024, no new wars and no regime change, anybody who pretends that wasn't on the ticket is deluding themselves and attempting to delude others. You want to rephrase the argument and say, well, it's peace through strength. He said no new wars. This is not a new war. This is a war that's been waged by Iran against America for 47 years. You want to try to do that tango pivot, that's fine. But then if what you're saying is it was always on the table to have a regime change in Iran, well, that should have been on the ticket in 2024. Those of you who are saying this is not a war, you will not be taken seriously ever again, nor do you deserve to be taken seriously. So some people are going to say, Viva, you've aired some skepticism, much of which, unfortunately, seems to be materializing. Robert Barnes, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, Viva and Barnes Law for the People, during our Sunday night show, predicted that this could devastate, and likely will, it's only a question of mitigating the damage now, Republicans' chances come midterms, and might devastate Republicans' chances come 2028. That when you have a Make America Great Again, America First policy, and you have domestic issues, seeing a president dedicate substantial resources to regime change in Iran to free the Iranian people, when you have massive domestic issues at home, some might perceive that to be a bit of a betrayal. If you start having oil prices spike, as they are right now, well, you might be not just betraying what many understood to be the campaign zeitgeist. If you're making life worse, more expensive for Americans, while trying to ostensibly liberate Iran from the oppression of the Iranian regime, you're going to have some blowback to that. Set all that aside, look at the resolution. HRES 1099, U.S. House of Representatives. Whereas the Islamic Republic of Iran remains the world's largest sponsor of terrorism and provides substantial financial and military support to groups including Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. Whereas the Islamic Republic of Iran poses a direct and persistent threat to the United States and is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American citizens. I don't think anybody can really disagree with this. Whereas according to the Pentagon, Iranian-backed proxy militias are responsible for the deaths of at least 603 United States servicemen in Iraq, roughly 1 in every 6 American combat fatalities in Iraq from 2003 to 2011. Whereas the Iranian regime is responsible for executing dozens of assassination plots targeting American citizens and serving government officials on United States soil. Whereas Tehran continues to harbor a network of senior al-Qaeda leaders, providing them with sanctuary space to fundraise in support of its fighters. Whereas in January 2024, United States service members Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, Specialist Kennedy Landon Sanders, and Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffat were killed in an Iranian-backed proxy attack on Tower 22 in Jordan. Whereas the regime's refusal to abandon its nuclear program and related missile and conventional weapons activities further resulted in the reimposition of 6 United Nations Security Council resolutions targeting the Iranian regime in September 2025. And whereas the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, Iran has amassed a large stockpile of enriched uranium and continues to block access to undeclared sites in Iran affiliated with the big, ambitious nuclear war program. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the House of Representatives declares it is the policy of the United States that Iran continues to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. Attest. Why wouldn't anyone agree to that? I mean, you can imagine. And I had to make sure that my steel manning of the argument for the cheerleaders was in fact accurate. You can understand that what opponents would say is, if I sign off on this, which basically reaffirms facts that are already, I'd say, agreed upon facts, it would serve as a pretext for legitimizing the strikes that I might not now support. And if you had any doubt as to why they voted against it, from the Jewish Insider, this is one of the sources I found. One of the squads put a post on her Facebook page, but I can't actually access my Facebook, nor do I really care to solve that problem because Facebook is a toxic hellhole. Why did 53 Democrats vote against describing Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism? Well, by the way, It wasn't describing it. It was reaffirming it because it's already a stated fact. Some told JI, Jewish Insider, they were concerned that President Trump could use it as legal justification to continue the campaign against Iran. We don't really need to read any more of that because I just needed to affirm what I already believed would be the bogus excuse for not doing it. They don't want to reaffirm what is already basically accepted fact because they fear that Trump might use it to justify the war in Iran. And that's fine. But 53 Democrats basically voted to not affirm what is already accepted fact because of what they fear the administration might do with that affirmation. Well, now you've affirmed a number of things. They kill American soldiers, as they have done in the past, that they have a nuclear program, that they have enriched uranium beyond the 60% threshold. Well, now they're going to use that to justify the conflict. Whereas if you're a relatively savvy politician and you say, yeah, all of this is true and has been true for a while, and there has been no immediate change warranting this intervention. That would be the retort if you wanted to not be a disgusting weasel and argue intellectually and honestly. Yep, all of that is true. I will affirm this. I'm not going to be a traitor to my country. And I'll say, because all of that is true and it's been true for a while, it can't now be used as the new pretext to do what some believe to be a violation of campaign promises by starting a war that first started off as not a war, precision strikes back in July. The concern then was you're not going to accomplish everything you wanted to accomplish. Even if you said you did, you're going to be back in 6 months. And lo and behold, the panicans were right. Put it in quotes. Anybody who uses that term unironically should be disregarded. So the concern was it's never just good. It's never a one and done. It's never just, obliterating and we're out. It's, oh, cripe, we didn't get everything we needed. Or now the goalposts have moved. It's no longer strictly nuclear program. It's ballistics and drones. It's no longer just nuclear, ballistics, and drones. Now it's regime change because they're oppressing their own people. As if we've basically just gone back to America World Police, which some of you might like. My whole issue is, if this were declared policy back during the election, like this is what we're going to do. Trump is still pissed off that there was allegedly an Iranian plot back in 2024 to assassinate the president. We're going to go wipe out the entire Iranian regime. You probably would have had support for that. It's one of the reasons why they tried to pass off 2 unrelated assassination attempts or paint them as potentially Iranian related. You'll remember that. We talked about it at the time. Thomas Crooks, they were attempting to claim or draw some connection to the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt and murder of Corey Comparatori to Iran. There's more Ukraine connections, incidentally, than Iranian connections for the last 2 attempts. But all right. If he had said, look, this regime is and will always be an existential threat to these United States of America. They tried to kill me back in 2024. Elect me and I will wipe them off the face of the earth. You might have had support and it would have been baked into the equation. But you got these scoundrel Democrats who don't want to affirm facts. This is like the mentality of the Democrats. They are afraid to admit facts, knowing how they're going to be weaponized, used, exploited. What is a woman? They don't want to answer the question because they know what the bloody answer is, but they don't want you using an honest answer against them because of how ill-founded and illogical their thought process is. So they won't reaffirm what is already affirmed, what is already known, what is already documented, because they're afraid of how it's going to be used. So instead of just arguing honestly, what they have now done is effectively, and it's great, know their names, judge them by their deeds. 53 Democrats don't sign on to a resolution that states the obvious and reaffirms the obvious. Now, I say, why do you need to reaffirm something that's already been affirmed? There's an expression in French, trop fort casse pas, too strong doesn't break. Not always true. And I do appreciate, someone's going to say, well, if it's already illegal, then why not make another law reaffirming the illegality? And then you get into the Cicero, more laws, less justice. I appreciate that. But it is also useful to do an update, to say, all right, last year we declared Iran and affirmed that Iran was the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. We should either affirm that, or if it's no longer true, revise it. So it's not a useless thing to put out there. Whether or not it would be used by the administration to say, ha, Democrats, you've signed on to this and you've affirmed that it's a state sponsor of terrorism. They're working on a nuclear program. They've killed American service members throughout military bases throughout the world. And then if you're a Democrat, you can argue, well, why do we have so many bases in the world to serve as targets for terrorist regimes? And the flip side argument to that is, well, you need to have bases to actually defend against these terrorist organizations, these terrorist governments. But call a boy, call a girl, and reaffirm what you have already affirmed as a matter of fact, instead of giving comfort through spiritual support via silence or being present. And that's that. But that meme of AOC and Elon Musk having it's not AI generated, but a creatively edited romantic splice is the greatest thing on earth. But I think the last thing that Elon needs is another cray-cray with more children with another woman. That's the last thing Elon Musk needs at this point in time.